Welcome back. I'm Richard. This is the Rich Bits Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and other major podcasting platforms. The Rich Bits is presented by 511 Media Group. My thanks to Big Rob for joining us in the last episode. We debated musical acts that are both overrated, underrated. We discussed bands and artists that were influential in our lives. We covered music from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Big Rob will be back to join us in a future podcast when we'll cover the last decade, including how YouTube and social media have changed the way artists are discovered, signed, and delivered, how they deliver their product to the masses. The Rich Bits Podcast is delivered in two formats. We have a long format and a short format. This is a short format. Will be 10 to 15 minutes in length, which we affectionately call Quick Bits. So in the Quick Bits format, we'll cover a number of current topics. We'll throw in some bizarre, weird news reports and some random shit that may have happened that day. Probably more of the random shit because, well, let's be honest, that's what we're interested in, and people love to hear about other people's lives. Okay, so for all the stupid shit that we have to put up with these days, there's a few things that have made our lives awesome. So the other day, my wife leaves me a note on the kitchen counter. She asks if I can stop by Walgreens to pick her up a couple items for work. No pressure, just let her know if I'm willing. So I text her before I'm leaving the house. What do you need at Walgreens? She texts me back, no worries, only if you have time. So I text her back, what do you need? No response. I text again, spit it out. Still no response. By this time, I'm about to leave the house, and I need to know, where am I going? So I text, now please. After a couple minutes, she sends me a picture. It's a picture of a bag of Sweet Tarts mini chewy candy. I know, right? So apparently, she and her hospital coworkers feed on this stuff, kind of like it's the antidote to the coronavirus. So 10 minutes later, I'm in the candy aisle at Walgreens looking for Sweet Tarts candy, which I found, and I didn't buy just one. I bought 4 bags. Why? Not only am I a nice guy, but the nurses and techs in the emergency room bust their ass each and every day. Yes, I'm talking to you. And then I find the holy grail of hard candy. Now, first, who doesn't like Jolly Ranchers? If you raised your hand, you're an idiot. What color does everyone like? Red. Who doesn't like the red? Did you know that they only sell red flavors now? Cherry, strawberry, watermelon, fruit punch, all in a bag. It's called Awesome Reds. I remember when you used to buy a bag of Jolly Ranchers and you had to sift through the yellow and the green and the blue, which, by the way, the blue are equally as awesome as the red, and all the other flavors just to get to the red ones. How great is the country that we live in that we now get all the red flavors in one bag? And furthermore, now they sell just about every candy imaginable in a fun-size bag. And you can enjoy their deliciousness, whether it's Snickers, Baby Ruth, Nestle's Crunch, Kit Kat, Reese's, all the hits. You name it, it's in a bag. It's all goodness. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. And in the words of Family Guy's Peter Griffin, do you know what really grinds my gears? I live in the state of Illinois, and the state of Illinois DMV grinds my gears. Well, to be more specific, the state of Illinois government in general. I'm glancing through Facebook the other day, and I noticed a post about how the DMV was closed last Saturday. Normally, that wouldn't be odd if you didn't live in a state where they raise taxes not to improve the roads and bridges or to reinforce infrastructure or even better the education system, but to simply pay the pension obligation of the state employees. Do I sound bitter? Probably. Am I? Absolutely. Do you know why the DMV was closed on Saturday? Because Monday was President's Day. Yes, let that sink in a minute. Monday was President's Day, and since the holiday fell on a Monday, the DMV is normally closed on Monday, so they needed another holiday to make up for not getting the extra day off during the actual holiday. What is this bullshit? Seriously. Can we start treating the DMV employees the same as the majority of the other regular workers in this country. So the day that they decide that they aren't going to work is the day that most people take a trip to the DMV because they're off of work and the DMV is closed. It wasn't like they said, well, since we didn't get Monday as a holiday and we don't normally work, we're going to take Tuesday because we know how many people come in on a Saturday. In case anyone listening thinks the government is for the people, by the people, my opinion is the only people the government is for is the people working inside the government. And we all pay their way. One final quick bit. We're not a sports podcast, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention the cheating scandal in baseball. Everybody knows about the Houston Astros, the banging on the drums, the signal calling, the wires, the allegations. Several players came out this week criticizing the commissioner for his, and I guess in their opinion, leniency in punishing the Houston Astros. First, a bit of context. I've played baseball at many levels since I was 8 years old. And for the last 12 years, I've played competitively in a Northern Illinois men's baseball league that includes many former minor league and major league players. I've competed in Arizona in the Senior Men's World Series against, I would say probably the nation's best players that aren't playing professionally over the age of 40. And I've played in hundreds, if not thousands, of games in my career. And I can tell you for 100% certainty that every single team I've ever played on and played against would take every competitive advantage they could to win. I'm not saying cheating. I'm saying take the competitive advantage. Now, that said, I have not played at the highest level like these major leaguers, so I can't entirely relate to their experiences. But what I can say is with all of the technology available in today's world on social media, video, cable, the internet, it cannot be that difficult to watch a tape, study the tendencies, whether the pitchers or catchers are tipping their signs or something's coming from the dugout or the outfield or in the stands. Think about how many phones are in the stands. Can they catch everyone? Of course not. Did the Astros take it to the level that stepped over the line into cheating? It appears so. But the idea that the Houston Astros should vacate their title and give back the trophy and their monetary winnings for the World Series is absurd. It's reported that only a few players cheated, right? Not everyone. So you can't punish everybody. B, the general manager and the manager were fired for their role in this scandal. C, due to the immunity agreement that the players received from the commissioner and Major League Baseball, no player would be punished for what they told. So we'll never know for certain which players cheated and which didn't unless they start turning on each other. D, not every player cheated, and we cannot punish, we as a society, them as a major league, cannot punish players who did not decide to cheat. Look, this isn't the NCAA. There's no death penalty in baseball. And for every Dodger and Yankee voicing an opinion that should be serious is really taken with a grain of salt. They're bitter. They lost. Look, Cody Bellinger from the Dodgers was critical of the Astros and the commissioner, Rob Manfred, last week. Well, Corey, maybe instead of whining about getting beat in the postseason, you maybe should focus on your 115 and 211 batting averages in the last two seasons. You have a combined 163 batting average in the postseason. That might have a little bit more to do with you losing than the Astros cheating. And they were caught cheating, allegedly, in a year that you didn't even play the postseason. Colin Cowherd of FS1 Fox tweeted this week, and I quote, "The cheating Astros road record in 2017 was better than most home records. In fact, the Astros were first or tied for the number one rank on the road in home runs at 123, RBIs at 472, and batting percentage at 284. I thought knowing the pitches, quote unquote, was a bigger edge than steroids. It's a great point. I get baseball purists will say the Astros should vacate their title. It's bullshit. We didn't vacate the Oakland A's title in 1989 when Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco cheated with PEDs, did we? It's insane. And the players need to stop complaining about it. That wraps up another episode of the Rich Bits. We are Quick Bits. And remember, until next time, the key to a rich life is happiness.